Greetings YouTube and welcome back to my sketchbook. Alrighty, so here we have a dagger, which is not completely unrealistic. This guard is a little on the thin side, but I think it has a nice aesthetic and I like the grip in particular. Here we have a one-handed sword. I'm not totally in love with this design, but I think it isn't horrible. I really like this particular design. This is based off of a real-world sword guard I had seen, and I added more of a long sword style blade to it. But I kind of like the way that looks. I thought it was quite nice. Here we have a throwing steel. So you grabbed it here, so you'd end up with this disc. So it was kind of looking for more of a realistic chakram. So instead of twirling it in your finger or throwing it like a frisbee, you'd be able to get more energy and be able to actually use it hand to hand if you really had to as a slashing weapon, because this would be lying flat against your arm. If you're wearing any kind of an arm guard, you would be fine. You wouldn't get cut. So I kind of like that design. Here we have a one-handed axe, tomahawk this, all metal. This is like an all-metal head set into the wooden shaft and a double spike in the back. And this was just a take on the idea of doing a throwing star, but with kind of a steampunk vibe to it, because, well, why not? Everybody loves steampunk, right? Here we have a boarding axe, kind of an elven boarding axe. And it was a boarding axe because it was designed to actually grip the side of a ship, and then that would dig into the wood. So you'd literally leap in and grab the side of a ship, and then grab the wood and stabilize yourself, and you'd use two of these to literally climb onto a ship. Boarding axes were things that were actually stocked in U.S. military ships up to the 20th century, believe it or not. Yes, the life is weird. Here we have a boar spear, a large head and a very robust, strong crossguard to keep a creature from going up. But this does also work well for monsters, dragons, things like that. Here we have a long, thin spear point with a long, kind of a very stylized socket that comes down here onto the shaft, and the rest of the shaft is not shown. Here we have my first attempt at doing a blunt kind of a morning star design, and this was my first attempt to achieve that. I don't think it was horrible. All metal design, lanyard hole, one probably hollow on the side so it wouldn't be unbelievably heavy, but still quite useful and kind of had that fantasy vibe to it without being completely over the top. Speaking of completely over the top, here we have some complete over the top designs. Here we have a two-handed axe, which I decided to make kind of interesting and making it almost a complete circle, but breaking that up. This is in a disc counterweight. Here we have another idea of like a chakram, but a chakram with points, so you'd throw it like a disc. This would not be sharp in here, so you could grab it like that, throw it like that. Here we have a sonic pistol designed to fire a concentrated sonic wave. I don't remember why I did that. I think I may have had a reason for that one. And here we have a battle axe designed off of a dragon. And again, I'm horrible at organic things, but of the organic things I have done, I think this was fairly successful. Obviously, a magic item designed for someone who either defends dragons, is a worshiper of dragons, or is a slayer of dragons. It depends on how you want to look at it, I guess. I have another blank page. So here we have a shaft which is far, far too thin, but not horribly unrealistic in the sense that this type of double weapon with these kind of crescents in there did actually exist. This is just a really bad example of it. I have the proportions completely wrong. It needs to be far more robust in this design. But I think overall the design concept is not completely hopeless. Here we have a one-handed kind of an elven heavy saber. I like that design. Here we have this is kind of upside down, but you understand what it is. It's a mace. This is too thin. This would have to be sunk in far, far deeper, so that they should be coming in like this. But it's based on a star, but it's a heavy, blunt weapon designed off of the idea of a geometric mace head. Here we have a hook, double hook, designed for both combat and for disarming your opponent or tripping them. Oh, here we have things that are in multiple directions. Here, I'll turn the page around, give me a sec. So here we have a large, kind of absurd spearhead. Here we have a very angular halberd design. That was intentional. I was going for a very rectilinear look. Here we go with a Dwarven heavy hammer, with a vaguely kind of a Celtic feel to it. Not horrible. I don't think I did bad on that one, but you know, I don't know why I did it upside down. Maybe because I wanted to get on that page. And again, you'll note I'm putting fewer things on the page. The designs are getting larger. I'm beginning to command and feel comfortable on the page. My sketching was an outgrowth of my psychological well-being as well as my confidence. So this is all tied together. Here we have a device that is really not used in combat so much as designed as a tool of terror. So you would squeeze this, and by squeezing that, you would clamp this off to cut off limbs. So this is a tool designed to terrorize. So there would be pulleys in here, and then this comes out of here, and there's a wheel so that it doesn't get bound, and this whole thing pulls together, and it goes. So it's designed as a tool of terror. Not so much combat, unless you were going to use it in like a gladiatorial type thing. And this bridges the area between fantasy and science fiction, so it's a very science fantasy design. And here we have a Crystalline Club. This is a club that would have been a mace, would have been grown this way. And I did it for a friend, and he actually was quite happy with it, so I was pleased. And I think I did a good job on the wrapping, because it wasn't too even. It kind of had that primitive look, and that's what I was going for. I wanted that primitive vibe to come through. Here we have an axe, double-bitted hand axe with kind of a mace head at the end, which is kind of silly. But again, I was still experimenting with that design, and I wanted to get some practice. And here we have an absurdly large, incredibly poorly proportioned anime-style two-handed sword. Completely over the top. I make no amends for this. It makes no sense. But here you go. And I did this in 403, so April of 2003. And here we have a completely absurd glaive, but this was made for a friend. He wanted a glaive that had a celestial theme, so I did kind of the medieval version of what a meteor looked like. Some of the depictions I'd seen, it was a wheel running through the sky with flames coming out of the back, so I used that as my inspiration. And then I added these other things in there, kind of give it a starry planet sky theme. But yes, it's absurd, but it was designed as a magic item, so I don't feel too bad. But yeah, this is based off a medieval manuscript I saw. And here we have a kind of a halberd or even a Lochabar axe design. Very heavy chopping with just some accent here. This is a one-handed sword. It had a kind of almost an orcish Native American feel, because these piercings are put in there purely for aesthetics. Or they even could be rivets if you want them to be. It's your choice. But I really like the way this came out. I think it was a nice design and not completely unusable. Yeah, it's a machete, but it's a tool, and this would be function as a tool. Not only could you use it as a tool, but you could easily use it as a draw knife without hurting yourself. So this is something that would actually function in the real world, and I think that someone could actually make one of these and use it and have it be effective. Blank pages. Woo! How do that? Okay, here we have a science fiction design, so that you have this gauntlet with a blade that retracts completely, and then it pops all the way out. Because this was kind of inspired, and it had a teardrop cross section. This is kind of inspired by almost like a psionic weapon. So you know what I mean. So that's kind of the vibe. I'm going for almost like a Star Wars theme with that one. Here we have a heavy one-handed hammer, kind of going almost for the Mjolnir kind of a vibe to it, with the double lightnings, big lanyard hole here. A sledgehammer style, so very much something that Thor would wield. And here we have, this is really light, and I apologize, but it was a knife with very, very large scallops out of it, tooth. Very silly, but kind of a tool of terror, a weapon that would be used by orcs, terrorize your gnomes and halflings and humans, things like that. But I still think it had I like the handle, and I think I did pretty good on the curves, even if it was kind of silly.